So what's been discovered is this patch of blood on a sofa where Hitler shot himself in April 1945. And at that time, an American colonel sees the blood on the sofa and he snips a bit of the fabric off and he takes it back home to the United States. And there it just sits, in his bedside drawer, wherever it is, for 80 years. Until someone thinks, hang on a minute, that's got Hitler's DNA on it. We could actually sequence his entire genome and see what medical conditions he may have been suffering from. So this is kind of deeply fascinating, and it gives a really, really excellent insight into the kind of physicality of Adolf Hitler. One of the things that's been revealed in Hitler's DNA is the fact that he had Kallmann syndrome. Now, that is a very rare thing, and thankfully it is a very rare thing, because what it does is it stops puberty. So therefore it stops your sexual organs growing in a normal way. So what does that mean? That means two things. It can first mean in a boy that your testicles will undescend, but that can be cured quite easily. But worse still, it's likely if Hitler did have Kallmann syndrome, he had a micro penis. We definitely know that Hitler had an undescended right testicle because there's a medical report from 1923 that shows he only had one ball. You're not going to be able to form fully sexual relationships with women. You're going to be very, very unconfident. You're going to be very bitter, I suspect. The massive significance of this study is, first of all, revealing that he has Kallmann syndrome, that he's in all likelihood going to have had a very small penis. He's only probably going to have one testicle that's descended. We know that anyway. And so the significance is obviously his sexual, emotional makeup will be absolutely, destroyed by this. And in doing so, I think that draws him into politics even more. And therefore, as a result of Hitler's politics, the Second World War happens. He also has markers for things like autism, schizophrenia, ADHD, and so on. Now, you and I can have markers for any numbers of diseases and yet not develop them. So we've got to be very careful, because what DNA does not mean is diagnosis. Just because you've got that gene doesn't mean you've got that disease. What do we know of Hitler? Is Hitler got some severe personality disorders? Does he have ADHD? Does he have autism? Does he have schizophrenia? Quite possibly. I'm not a psychologist, but it's clear that Hitler's personality and behavior and character certainly showed signs of some of those things, and that presumably was written in his genes a bit. We've also got to be very careful that we don't stigmatize people who do have those conditions, because even if you are autistic or got ADHD, that doesn't make you more likely to invade Poland than anybody else. Just because you've got one of these conditions, it simply doesn't mean that you're going to kill 6 million Jews. There are very complicated reasons as to why that takes place, and you can't just look in someone's DNA and go, you're a mass murderer. I think this discovery is absolutely fascinating. There's no doubt about it. For any historian of the Nazi period, they're going to be watching this show and with fascination. Does it alter our understanding of Hitler in a fundamental way? No, it doesn't. But what it does do, the DNA adds a lot of flesh to what we already know about Hitler. And his DNA, the story of his DNA makes a lot of sense with the story of Hitler that we know very well. So what it does is that it shows some of the answers may lie in his genes as to his behavior. But just because something lies in your genes, it doesn't mean that's a defense for your behavior. Like at Nuremberg, the trial after the war, a lot of the Nazis said, I was only following orders. That was called the Nuremberg defense. Plenty of people have all sorts of, genes and faults in their genes and potential conditions, and they don't go around committing mass murder.